This is Jane Low, and I'm at Techweek Singapore 2025 here. And with me today, I'm very pleased and very privileged to have Pasi, who is going to be sharing with us the latest cyber threat landscape in the blockchain or the Web3 area. So thank you, Pasi, again for your time today.
Of course, my pleasure, my pleasure.
All right, so we have spoken a few times in the past. The last time was about a year and a half before.
Time flies.
Yeah, I know time flies, and it was at the cusp of AI, ChatGPT sort of boom, and there was a lot of excitement over, the promises that AI will bring. Now, before we jump into the cyber threat landscape, right, I just want to get your thoughts. You are in the blockchain space, and now with AI, right, what are the kind of exciting innovations that you've seen the two technologies coming together?
Well, there's of course vendors coming into the space who are at least saying that they are using AI to provide a service that analyzes blockchain transactions. So there's that's sort of a new service segment, a few years old, I think. So they are analyzing multiple blockchains and transactions within them and between them, and then they integrate with the systems of the exchanges to give you risk information about the transactions. So that's one new thing. For exchanges themselves, of course, when the security vendors, let's say antivirus or similar vendors of today, they bring these AI-powered features to their services, then that gives a bit more tooling for the security teams to use. So I think it's not just one thing, it's coming from many different directions. And many companies are trying to build their internal capabilities, starting from training the teams and then getting the skills, integrating maybe some of those prototype features of machine learning and AI into some of their security and other processes.
Yes.
So, yes.
Yeah, I would love to deep dive into some of these aspects. But before we do that, right, I just want to get your thoughts on the biggest cyber threat incident this year in 2025, which is the Bybit 1.5 billion hack, right? So, just want to get your take on, what surprised you about the hack and what is not so surprising, and maybe perhaps for our audience who are not too familiar with the incident,
right,
would you just give them a quick summary overview?
Would it be good to kind of quickly characterize what happened in the hack if not everybody knows about it? So, I think what happened was that basically, Bybit had a multi-sig, multi-signature scheme in place, which means 3 people have to approve a transaction before it's finally going to be signed into the blockchain and approved. So somehow attackers were able to pass a transaction that gave control of their Ethereum wallet to the attackers. So the exchange signed this maliciously designed transaction, or actually 3 times signed it. And final signature was from the CEO and founder of the company. And 1.5 billion was then given to the attackers, which then resulted to the loss of these funds. So what was really surprising was not that it was using a attack technique called blind signing, which means when you sign a transaction in crypto in this context, you have a number of factors that are signed within that. One of them is how many Ethereum is being transacted. And then there might be other technical factors. And not everything is shown on the user interface, on the browser. And when you sign these things, the attacker was able to hide some of these instructions to the same bunch of things that they signed in one go. One of those was give the control of this wallet to the attacker, but it wasn't shown by the user interface. It was hidden from the view. So that's why it's called blind signing. You don't see it. And I think this wasn't surprising that they did it, because it was actually used almost a year prior to this in India. There was exactly similar attack with all the same technical execution steps. And it was used against an exchange called WazirX. And there's a couple of other instances where we suspect that they might have actually done the same thing. And it was the same attackers, North Koreans, Lazarus group. And I think the surprise factor that you asked about is that a big company like Bybit didn't take the learnings from it, or that the industry as a whole didn't recognize that hey, we're actually sitting ducks here. There's no controls in place in many of the exchanges, even the bigger ones, that can catch this sort of attack vector. And that's I think, a threat intelligence sharing failure on behalf of the industry. So that is the most surprising thing. I can't really blame one exchange for being fooled, but I can blame a large number of security professionals not spotting this thing and raising the criticality, because it was targeting their wallets holding a significant amount of assets. And of course, if somebody's running, let's say, a custody function that uses the same technology stack, they might be vulnerable as well. So this is a big deal.
Yeah, threat intelligence sharing is notoriously a challenging area for even established companies, right? Financial services, not to mention, I guess, decentralized or organizations, right?
Correct.
Because there is a perception that if you share certain threat information, you're either giving away some intellectual property secrets, or you are admitting to a potential hack that no one may perhaps not been aware of. There's a shame factor attached to it as well. So it's traditionally quite challenging. But you brought up a very interesting point that perhaps there should be a formal sort of structure around intelligence sharing for the Web3 organizations.
Yeah. I think it would be good. And it's a relatively new industry. I know that banks have similar kinds of sharing mechanisms in place, but unfortunately, crypto industry is not really well represented in that sharing. At least it's not very easy to pick up these kinds of things from that sharing data at the moment. So I think there's things to improve there, and I'm sure that they have taken notice of this hack. And I'm also aware that there have been actions taken by these ISAC information sharing organizations.
Right.
Already based on this attack. Yeah.
Okay, so that's one good points to emphasize again from this podcast. So putting that aside, right? So going back to the topic of AI and blockchain, right? When we look at earlier, you talked about how some cybersecurity solutions are leveraging AI in the blockchain space.
Yeah.
If we take a look at from a cyber threat actor's perspective, how have you seen them leveraging AI in the blockchain space? Have you seen sort of some interesting examples you can share?
Yes, and not just the blockchain space, but against all industries. So crypto is just a very, I think, high-profile target because of the type of business that these companies are in, and therefore a lot of these attacks are seen first by crypto companies, and they are facing the best adversaries or the worst, depending how you want to think of it. And but that all the businesses are actually in the same boat. So AI tools are being used by adversaries all the time, and their business model is based on the idea that they use these AI models, LLMs, and others to build agentic AI tools for attack and crime. So I like to use the term artificial criminal intelligence. So it enhances the capabilities of attackers, increases the likelihood that their phishing attacks are successful, enables them to send more and better quality phishing, use voice, fool people, build narratives, use better language, convince people to do stupid things. So this is a perfect technology to fool people, because it's all about that, about Turing Test, where you chat with the computer in text format, and if the computer is able to fool you that it's a human, then it's passed the Turing Test. And I think we're there. And if you give instructions to your malicious agent to fool this person to give his money, then what you have is actually not a technical hack, but a social engineering robot, right? Which scales up indefinitely.
So have you seen these AI agents, right? The attack chain now becoming sort of end-to-end, if you know what I mean, using LLMs to generate phishing emails, and then agents to actually, propagate and distribute those emails.
Yeah, there are some open source models and toolkits for different purposes. Let's say if you're doing a just legit white hat red teaming work, you can just download red teaming LLM and do your work, but so can the attackers.
Yes.
And they wouldn't use it for good. Okay, so that's one example where it helps to do your job faster and better and secure your company better, but then again also attack if you're a criminal. In the same vein, there are toolkits for phishing that utilize LLMs in the background. So it helps you to format and formulate the language in your emails that you use in phishing to make it more professional. It's not yet quite full automated, but let's put it this way. One person, if he can do 10x more, then what you have to deal in security end of things is 10x more volume and more tickets from end customers, more incidents to manage. So that is the asymmetry of the problem.
Yeah, last year when we talk about the use of AI in the cyber criminals area, we talk about them using it potentially to craft malicious code, right?
Yeah. We're talking about vibe coding for good or evil.
That's right.
Right.
Yes.
So I think it's democratizing. That's the word. Difficult one. A lot of the specialized skills in many areas of coding. Let's put it this way. Every company is vibe code experimenting right now with their IT department. They are looking for people who can use these tools, and they're looking for better tools to use in IT. So it's something we cannot ignore. And one key takeaway from the recent studies is that when you use one of these tools, the best ones even, they make about the same amount of vulnerable code that a typical average coder does. So you can't get away from your audits, reviews, and that sort of things. So I think the pitfalls might be that you trust the code too much because it's well commented, well documented, and nobody actually spent the time to think through it. So the knowledge of your code base might be more shallow in humans' mind. So do you spend enough time to inspect it for serious vulnerabilities or test it against them? That's the question. So it comes back to this insider thing, unintentional threat that they cause, and then one person can do more damage by introducing vulnerable code. But then, of course, a malicious insider might, of course, use these tools to vibe code something nasty as well. But so can the external ones, right? So I think hackers who used to be average coders can now go deeper and then maybe develop exploits that they never had skills to do with. So we might be seeing that more average attackers are able to do actually quite elaborate attacks. Like a few months ago, if we look at the HackerOne US, the number one hacker based on bounties solved and cashed out was actually a LLM that was a tool set, Agentic LLM used by one hacker account there. It's not like brains of a human, but brains augmented by these technologies. So that's already the best that the planet has to offer. So imagine if you give the same toolkit and just use it for evil as a criminal. That's a terrifying thought, right?
Have you seen any difference, significant, meaningful difference between smart contract coding aided by or co-piloted by AI versus non-smart contract traditional languages?
So if I understood correctly, whether these tools, LLM tools, coding tools, can be used for Web3?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Web3 languages. Do you see any meaningful difference?
I've actually seen that they are quite often used to screen through or review through a large number of smart contracts out there. So because they're so automated and fast, you can actually give them a command to go through, let's say, check out these 100 smart contracts and let me know of any vulnerabilities. Also have a look at the audit reports that are written out there in the internet about these smart contracts and see if there's any open vulnerabilities that haven't been patched yet. As an attacker, that would be a goldmine, right? Then you would get a list of potential vulnerabilities that are found already by a human or maybe it was found by the LLM because it's reviewing the code. So for an attacker, that might be useful. And I believe that that's something that they already do.
Right, okay. Well, indeed, very concerning.
Of course, yes.
Right, okay. So, so coming to the cyber defense, earlier you touched on, vendors harnessing AI to help mitigate some of these accelerating threats out there. How have you seen the difference between, the traditional sort of AI automating versus the LLM or agentic AI sort of methods?
Yeah, there's definitely differences. So I think if we go into the big picture of things, your teams need to have understanding of how to approach this agentic frameworks versus just using a API of an LLM, and understand the security implications of it, because the mode in which you engage with this new technology will be determining the risks and threats that you are assuming while you're doing it. Let's say you are just vibe coding by using ChatGPT over your browser. So maybe one of your risks is that if you store all of that code in the memory of that ChatGPT, it's not tied up to the account that you use at work, and then if you leave the organization, it's going to be there. But how about if somebody hacks that account that you're using, and then maybe your company code base is now exposed and it's not protected in your GitHub or whichever you're using? And that's just one scenario. Then let's look at the agentic side of things. Then in that world, you probably build something like one-off architecture of, I don't know, perhaps an MCP server, put some LLM there or a couple of them in different roles, orchestrator and tool user, some tools that they can use, and then give them some instructions how to operate, maybe even fine-tune them somehow. But nobody's done it exactly the same way as you did. So how can you apply a security template or a set of controls because it's yours specifically? So I believe that you should be doing at least some cautionary steps there, like perhaps security testing of the thing, perhaps boxing it in a little bit into a sandbox envelope, not let it interact with all of your critical data, and not put your critical data while you fine-tune it in there. Consider seriously if you want to expose it to the internet. Many things. Because these things, they don't basically all come with very good security or safety controls. What these vendors call as safeguards or whatever they call it, it's really basically just an idea that you have an LLM that's helpful, and then you slap some security things on top of it and hope that this filtering prevents things from getting in or out. But the thing inside is a black box and obeys your command. That's the least secure one, at least I know of. So some of them are better. Let's not be too pessimistic.
Right, okay. So
but no one model that fits all.
Right, okay. So talking about all these emerging threats and accelerating capabilities on the attacker side as well as, I think, to a certain extent on the defender side, right? My last question for you.
Okay.
You are CISO of a blockchain company.
Yes.
What keeps you awake at night? Looking at all these things that's happening, right?
Speaking at conferences? No. No, just joking. I sleep pretty well, knowing that I have very good support from management, but there are main threats. Let's say the quick adoption of AI into many financial organizations should give them serious thought about the actual security knowledge and controls they have in place. These technologies are so new that we don't know the latent security features or lack thereof that they contain. So one cautionary tale is like Windows XP. When it came out tens of years ago, it was touted as the most secure operating system, and now it's being used as a punching bag in CTF, like when you train your graduates, because it's so full of holes, and they were there always, and it's been patched many times. So same with this new tech. It's going to be coming with latent security features out of which some are exploitable. And security researchers are going to figure them out along the way, along the years. And I think now we are at the stage where every vendor is implementing their own security models and controls and competing with others and not sharing what works, what doesn't, which leads to the situation where there's no good standards for how to secure these things as a whole. There's no industry standard, one standard. So you can see it from the benchmarks. Security safety benchmarks for different models are from 0 to very high numbers. Like some of them are scoring actually 0. So they don't pass a single test, while others are pretty high up there, like 80 or something percent of tests. So you can see that we don't really have any actual controls in place, or those people who are saying that governance is making things secure, maybe for your organization, but as a whole, it hasn't really forced all the vendors as an industry to yet move forward. So yeah, that's one thing. And crypto side, of course, the North Korean attackers are probably the most relevant risk for especially DeFi space. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So 3 takeaways I have from you today. One is we need more sharing, right? Yeah. Number 2, the industry together has to collaborate and come up with some standards for AI.
That would be great.
That would be excellent. And North Korean threat actors are not going away anytime soon.
Yeah.
So thank you, Pasi, for your time today.
Thanks, Jane.